As a warning.
Alright, I'm back again with another Batman review. The first one I did was kind of more, I don't want to call it lighthearted, but I dressed up like a doofus, and it was intended to be spoiler-free. I think there's a few spoilers, but they're whatever. If you watched that one and you had a problem with those spoilers, then I don't know what to tell you, because they ain't ruining the movie for you at all, so... But anyhow, it was also just a quick thing. It even says it in the title, what do I call it? A brief, honest review. So, this one is going to be more real. I'm just going to talk freely about what I thought about the movie. So when I say freely, that means I'm going to be talking as if you are somebody who already saw the movie and we're just chatting. Which means, potentially, massive spoilers. So yeah, if you haven't seen the movie yet and you want to see it and not have it ruined for you ahead of time, then click off. I won't care, I understand. But anyhow, yeah, that was your heads up. And like Mr. Gigi does, just in case that wasn't enough, here is your second reminder that there will be some spoilers. Probably a lot, actually. Anyhow, so, for starters, in my original review, I gave the movie a 85 out of 100. Yeah, that was way oversold. See, what I was thinking in the moment was a 3 out of 5 is what I was going to give it, 3 out of 5 stars. But then I started to break that down, and I was like, that's a 60%. The movie's not really a 60, that's too low, but it's definitely not an 85 either. More realistically, I would give it a 77, 78, somewhere in that range. Let's say a C+. Let's go with letters instead of numbers. It's a C+. Like, it's not horrible, it's passing, but it's also not the greatest. At the same time, I'm not saying it was a terrible movie, so don't get it twisted and think that I'm just here to hate on the movie. So, let me get into it, why I think what I think. So for absolute very starters, I'm going to start with the negative, and then I'll talk about the positive things that were actually cool about the movie. So for absolute starters, this movie is very slow-paced. And, as such, that makes it feel ridiculously long. Like, like, the gold standard always has been The Dark Knight. Because it has been, and still is, the best Batman movie available. So, in comparing to Dark Knight is 2 hours and 45 minutes. The Batman is 2 hours, 55 minutes. Okay, that's 10 minutes difference. But this movie felt like it was 4 hours, if not more. It's so slow and long and drawn out, and there's just so many nonsense scenes that just either could be trimmed down significantly or just didn't need to be in the movie at all. And they were there, and it just dragged it out. And it kind of got boring because of how slow and dragged out it was. Like, again, going back to Dark Knight, I've seen that movie, 18 times at home, plus the one time in theaters, so 19 times total. And I have never once thought that movie dragged on. It never felt too long, it never anything, not even the first time in the theaters. And why? Because it's always moving. It's always kind of to the point, the characters are doing what they need to do, there's always enough to keep you interested, the dialogue is kind of there for the whole purpose of the story. There's, you know what I mean? Like, there's no side chat. The characters aren't just nonsensically talking about X and Y as filler. It's always kind of to the point of the story. And, yeah, every single, how do you want to call this? Not conflict, but every time a situation arises, there's always engagement. You know, there's the part where Joker busts into the mob's room. Their meeting, I mean, during the daytime. Boom, that was something. In the very beginning, there's the bank robbery. That was something. The next one is, Batman going out and fighting the imposters. That was something. Then there's, every single portion of the movie had something to it. It's almost like it's like a chapter in a book. Each portion of the movie was a chapter of a book. And so it almost makes it much easier to follow and stay engaged with, because there's always something new coming along, but engaging at the same time. Where this movie was just one big huge thing, There is no chapters. It's just a story, and it's dragged out, and just, it felt miserable. I mean, I don't wear watches, not because I don't like watches. It's just because I have my skin condition, you know, this nonsense, and it usually affects my wrist, and so I don't wear watches because all it's going to do is make my skin problem worse. But if I had a watch, I know I would have been checking that thing way too many times. In the theater as well, I was getting to the point where I was ready to go. Like, I was getting bored and antsy, and, you know, I'm thinking, I want to get out of here. Is this almost done yet? Should I just leave? I thought about just leaving because I was like, I know when this comes out, I am going to buy it. I mean, I buy every Batman movie, animated and live action. I not even Batman, I just buy every DC movie in general. So I was like, I'm going to buy this. So even if I don't finish it here in the theaters, I'll finish it at home someday. But at the same time, I'm like, well, I did pay $12 for my ticket, so I might as well sit here through the whole thing and make it worth my money. But yeah, I've, first off, barely ever felt that way. The only other movie I can think of offhand that I felt like I wanted to leave was Transformers Dark of the Moon. I saw that in theaters. It was so terrible, so boring. I wanted to go, but I was with somebody, and they kind of seemed like they were interested, so I was like, I guess I'm stuck here watching this stupid thing. If I was there by myself or something, absolutely I would have left. There might be one other movie that I'm forgetting that I felt like leaving from, but yeah, it doesn't usually happen. Normally I go to a movie and I'm good. I can stay there. I'm happy with it. The weirder part is, this is a Batman movie. Batman and Star Wars are like my top two things. For me to want to leave early from a Batman movie is saying something. I mean, so yeah, it's very long and boring because it's so drawn out. And the reason why it's boring is because this movie takes a direction of Batman being the world's greatest detective. Yes, that's what he's supposed to be. That's what he started as back in the 30s. But, you know, he's kind of gotten cooler over time. He's changed. He's more of a crime fighter, not just a detective. I mean, he's sort of, it usually includes his, like, deductive skills, but, you know, not full on. This movie was full on. Like, he was on the, he might as well have just been on the police's payroll. Because every time you saw Batman, he was with, I was going to say commissioner. He's not commissioner yet. He was with Lieutenant Gordon. Every single time. Very, very infrequently, I guess you could say, do you see him, like, on his own, doing his own thing. There's that one famous scene from the trailer when he meets up with those guys and lays them out, I'm vengeance. And that's actually right in the very beginning, too. That kind of threw me off. That's right in the beginning. One of the top, you know, first 10 minutes of the movie, you see that. And I was like, that's in the trailer, and this is already now? But, yeah. So that's a part that he's by himself. And then towards the end, when he's more, like, buddied up with Catwoman, he's kind of by himself. But for the most part, he's always with Gordon. And the whole point, also, is how Riddler works. Riddler makes it so that Batman's involved. Every time he commits a crime, Riddler commits a crime, he leaves a note, like a birthday card type situation, but it's always to the Batman. So Batman sort of has to be involved. But yeah, because it's all just like a detective show, that's what makes it boring. It's just drawn out police work, basically. He's showing up to the crime scene to decode the message that the Riddler left and maybe try to see if he can come up with what happened, just like the police are doing. Like, it's not Batman like we normally are used to. We're used to him coming in and kicking butt and doing something awesome. Again, to go back to Dark Knight, I think of the scene where he's getting Lau from Hong Kong back to the U.S., and he, you know, he's on the rooftop setting up his bombs, then he flies around, and then he smashes through the window, fights all those guys, catches Lau, shoots out the paraglider thing, and the plane comes and gets him. Like, that's cool. That's a Batman thing. You know, not him showing up, like, afterwards. Now this Batman would show up to the scene after to figure out what happened. Oh, where's Lau? Why is this window smashed? Like, no one cares about that side of it. That's boring. But that's what this movie was. Until the very end. Like, the last 10 minutes, it's cool. Then he's Batman. He's fighting tons of henchmen. I think it's like 50 henchmen that of Riddlers that are all dressed up like him, and they have guns. And he's going through, and it's pretty cool. You know, he's doing, you know, his usual fighting, and he's using his grappling hook to swing around, and it was kind of cool. And then there's even a point where he gets beat down, and Catwoman's there as well. She's, I guess you could say, unofficially helping him. Like, she happened to be there in the area. Her plan wasn't to get involved in the nonsense that Batman was in, but she saw he needed help, so she tries to help, but then she gets knocked down, and Batman's hurt. from his last beatdown. I think he gets shot. You know, he has some awesome like bulletproof armor, but he got shot like super close range from like a shotgun. So, you know, he's kind of blown out like, ugh. But yeah, he has something like, it made me think of like the Berserker stuff that Wolverine takes in Logan when he goes crazy at the end. It's kind of like what he pulls out. He pulls out some stuff, opens up some portal, I don't know where it was, jams it himself, and then he's able to go crazy and save Catwoman, basically. So, like, that was kind of cool. And it was, you know, realistic. It wasn't like in, don't get me wrong, Chris Nolan's Batman movies are very realistic as well. But, you know, in Dark Knight Rises, he puts on that leg brace and all of a sudden his leg's bionic. And it's just like, huh? How does that even make sense? How does a leg brace make it so you can kick a brick wall or cement wall, whatever it is, and it just breaks? Like, that's still your foot. That's still your bones, your ligaments, tendons. How is a leg brace making you bionic? Or at least this one, that made sense. He pulls out like a shot of adrenaline. Okay, so that's where you get the burst of energy from. Makes sense. It's not just some random nonsense like, oh, I just have willpower. But yeah, otherwise the rest were just slow and boring. And then you have Bruce Wayne, or Robert Pattinson's version of Bruce Wayne, just like super emo. Everything's all dark about him. He always wears dark clothes, hoodies. I mean, I get it. The whole point of his hoodies is because he's usually out in public and he's trying to hide. He doesn't really want people to see him and bug him. Because again, it goes back to the detective stuff. So even when he's not dressed up as Batman, he's still doing detective work, but just as Bruce Wayne. And yeah, but he's all like dark and emo. He never smiles. He even barely ever talks. He talks more as Batman than he does as Bruce Wayne. And there's even a lot of scenes where his makeup from when he's Batman is still on, but he's in the Bruce Wayne. I mean, he's not out in public like that. He's just kind of hanging out at the Batcave or whatever. But like, it just creates that emo look even more. Like, you're hanging out as Bruce Wayne now, but you still got your crap on. And yeah, and so like I said in my first review, to a certain extent, I guess you can see where that comes from, because, you know, he's somebody who lost his parents at a young age, so he's not going to be Mr. Happy-Go-Lucky like they usually show him to be as Batman. I mean, Bruce Wayne. Usually he's always out being a socialite, living it up, having a good time. And it's like, yeah, maybe somebody who lost their parents at 8 years old would be kind of screwed up. They wouldn't be all just like, hey, life's awesome. They would be introvert and kind of like, leave me alone. Like this version. But still, I mean, it is, when you're used to seeing Bruce Wayne be more perky and then you just see like emo Wayne, it's like, it's kind of like in Spider-Man 3 when the symbiote makes Peter Parker become all emo. It's weird. Like, you get it. It's the symbiote. It's not really Peter, but it's still weird. Like, what are you doing, bro? And now they got memes galore about it. Bully Maguire and all this. So what, is there going to be Bully Wayne now? But, yeah. Now, speaking of that, how I was saying Bruce does detective work when he's dressed up, I mean, when he's out, just like he does as Batman. That's another thing. There's really no distinction between Bruce Wayne and Batman. They're basically the same guy. See, normally, it's almost like Batman is the real guy. The real, whatever you want to say, person, persona, yada, yada, yada. And Bruce Wayne is the costume. When Bruce is just himself, he has to be over the top and try to act like something that he's not, almost to cover up that he's Batman. And then when he's Batman, he can just be himself, kind of. He's in a costume, nobody knows it's him, and he's out doing his own thing, trying to protect his city. Well, this movie, Bruce Wayne and Batman are the same person, basically. He's always just kind of glum, never smiles, he just always has like the same look on him. And yeah, like I said, when he's out in public, for the most part, he's still doing detective work. That's why he's got his hood on, to try to conceal his identity so people don't bug him. Because, you know, Bruce Wayne is supposed to be a big figure in the city, so he doesn't want people to be running up on him while he's trying to work because, you know, he's a vigilante, he's not getting paid, so it's not really work. But it's kind of like me making these videos, you know, I'm working, but it's free. Nobody's even gonna watch this. But no, anyway. But yeah, so that lack of a differentiation kind of was disappointing, I guess you could say. Not disappointing, it's not like I look forward to it, but it's just, it's a weird direction, I guess you can say. Because when he was Bruce Wayne, there almost was no point in him being Bruce Wayne. Like, he might as well have just been Batman the whole time. Like, he doesn't do anything for the city. You know, like, again, Bruce Wayne usually does something for the city. Look at what, back to Dark Knight. He throws the benefit for, Harvey. Or he, what else has he done? I'm trying to think of, like, is it the Michael Keaton Batmans? Or I think it's I don't know, but there's always something. Even the George Clooney one, that's probably the worst Batman there is. But he's got that event thing that he goes to. Like, he's always involved in something. He's always involved in charities. He's doing things as Batman. This Batman, I keep saying Batman, Bruce Wayne. He does things as Bruce Wayne. This Bruce Wayne doesn't do any of that. I mean, there's even a part where the potential mayor, she's not really the mayor yet. I guess she's supposed to be. Like, the implications that she's going to win. But she's not yet. They're still in the mayoral races. But, yeah, she comes up to him and she's like, you know, I don't know, says something along the lines of the Waynes have always been known for their generosity to the city or what have you, but what have you done for the city? And something along those lines. And it's like, well, yeah, there's a point there. He doesn't do anything. He just hides. He's just antisocial. And this looks uneven. I don't like that. But yeah, he's just antisocial and just a weird recluse, kind of. I mean, technically no, because like I said, he goes out, but he's hidden. He's not trying to be like, hey, I'm Bruce. What's up, guys? And then even when he does go out, like there's one scene he goes out and he actually is Bruce Wayne, and like he's just sloppy. He's wearing a suit, but he's got like a sloppy thin tie. Like when Bruce goes out normally, he's dressed up, he's fresh, he's got a nice 3-piece brand new suit on, he looks good. And even in Dark Knight Rises, when he was busted and they're making fun of him, oh, look at this rich guy, can't get out of his car. And they're like, oh, that's Bruce Wayne. Isn't he still dressed up super fresh, even when he's busted? And this one's just wearing like a crappy schlub suit. Costed him $50. And he's like, well, I guess this is what I'll wear to go out with my crappy little dumb thin tie. And like, even then, he doesn't talk to anybody. People talk to him and he just kind of looks at them. And it's like, who are you, you emo? You're not Bruce. And then, what else is Bruce known for? Well, he's known for being rich because of his family being rich. And this Bruce, you would assume it's Bruce, and that's his backstory, so he's rich. But there's absolutely nothing that signifies that. Now, Bruce being rich doesn't really matter, I guess, in the grand scheme of things. What you really care about the character for is Batman. You don't care that he's a rich guy named Bruce Wayne. But still, the point is, though, is there's none of that. He barely ever does anything that requires money. He drives either a, I mean, he's got like an old vintage, what is it, a Corvette or something. So, you know, it's probably like $100,000 car there. And then he drives his motorcycle. I don't know what motorcycles go for. Let's say it's $20,000. But like, that's it. You don't really see too much else. There's nothing that really implies that he's got money. Like I said, they even say in the movie, how come you don't do anything for the city like your parents did? Like, he's just an average guy who's supposed to be understood to be super rich. Even like his clothes, like I said, I made fun of his suit. He wears a crappy suit. He doesn't even like dress super fresh so you can at least see it on him. Nope, just some crappy little weak suit. Not even a 3-piece. It's just a shirt, jacket, some pants, and a thin crappy tie. I make fun of the ties because I'm a tie aficionado. I make fun of ties all the time if they're not super on point, like the sports guys. When you watch those channels and they got a sloppy tie, you know, they either do like a 3-in-the-hand knot and it's crooked, or some nonsense. You know, the best one is a full Windsor. Do a full Windsor, make sure it's in the middle, nice thick knot. Make sure you got a thick enough tie that can go down. Make it nice, especially if you're gonna be on TV and stuff. And then you got Bruce over here, wearing a crappy little small knot with a thin tie. Ugly. But anyhow, yeah. So no real definition of him being rich. And then let's talk about him being Batman. Again, there's no real reason as to why he's Batman. Why is he Batman? I don't know. You never really get that. Now, on one hand, it's cool. They don't go through the whole used trope of, oh, my parents were killed, and have to show it like they do in every single Batman. Jeez, they even did it in the one with Ben Affleck. What was that? Dawn of Justice? Just redoing it again. Like, yeah, we know the story. We've seen it a million times. So this one, they don't do that, which is nice. But at the same time, there's no reason for him to be Batman. Why is he Batman? Why does he choose to do this? I don't know. Just because, I guess. He was bored and thought, hey, I should try to be a crime fighter. Actually, he's not even really a crime fighter. He's a detective. I want to be a police officer, but I'm not going to go to the academy. I'm just going to kind of unofficially do it and hope that one of the cops befriends me. That's basically what happened. And it worked. He got Jim Gordon on his side, a fairly high-ranking detective. But, yeah, but otherwise there's no reason why he's Batman. Like, every other time you have a reason. You know, it's either he wants to protect the city, or he wants to better the city, or he's something. There's a reason why he went down the path he went down. This one, I don't know, he just is. I'm vengeance. Oh, okay, vengeance of what? Your parents? Is that what you're vengeance of? Like, are you just doing this to serve yourself? Is there a greater purpose? Normally there's a greater purpose. What is your purpose? You don't have a purpose. You're just there. Now what else can we talk about? Let's see. Oh, yes, Riddler, the main villain. There's technically two. There's Penguin, but Penguin's not so much a main villain. He's in the movie, but he's just a character. He's just in the Falcone, Maroni, whatever, crime family. He's got some kind of ranking position. I don't know. I guess he's second in line now under Falcone, because I guess Maroni's in jail or something. So, or maybe I don't know. I don't understand that mob ranking in I was gonna say Sopranos. I understand the Sopranos. I've seen that multiple times, but I don't understand it in Batman. Who's who and what their ranking is. But anyways, he's high enough ranking. He's second or third ranked, and yeah. So yeah, he's there, but the main focus is Riddler, because Riddler in this movie is basically a serial killer, and he is killing tons of people who have elected positions, who like the mayor, or is it the mayor? Yeah, I think it's the mayor, or who else does he go after? I don't know. He just goes after a bunch of people who have lied to gain their power, which, you know, politics, that's what it's all about. So obviously the mayor is going to be one of his targets. And so, yeah. But the thing is, well, where was I going with this? Well, anyways, yeah, so the Riddler's a serial killer. I don't think that's what he's ever been like before. But two things about the Riddler. So one is, even though it was kind of cool, you know, they switched him up, they made him a little bit better. He reminded me a lot of Hush. Have you ever seen Batman Hush? It's an animated movie. It's very good. If you haven't seen it, check it out. But in this one, Hush, spoiler alert, is Riddler. Riddler basically was sick and tired of being a third-string villain, and so he reinvented himself and was able to earn respect from everybody because they thought he was someone new and more, you know, hardcore. And really all it is Riddler. But that's what this Riddler is. He's basically Hush, but he's going by Riddler again. So it went Riddler was Riddler, Hush, now he's back to Riddler, but keeping the Hush look. So yeah, he was definitely much cooler. I mean, in the grand scheme of reality, he's a serial killer, so no, he's not cool. But, you know, in the context of a Batman universe supervillain, or just villain, I guess that's not really super. He doesn't have powers, he's just a guy. But yeah, that was cool how he's just cooler. He's not the typical Riddler. Like, think of Jim Carrey's Riddler. That was stupid. This one is also... So now we're going to jump to something positive, but at least he's kind of grounded in reality. He gave off strong vibes of, like, the Zodiac Killer. You know, Zodiac Killer was somebody who was a serial killer and still never got caught, but always left, like, clues and hints and taunted the police and stuff. And that's kind of like what Riddler does. He's always, you know, to the Batman and leaving those ciphers, and Batman's got to figure it out, or at least the police with him. And, yeah. But the thing, part two, I guess, because I said there was two things. The second thing, though, is when Riddler finally got busted, it was just dumb. You know, you have the whole police force, or at least Gordon, and Batman, who's supposed to be the world's greatest detective, especially in this movie. That's what the whole point of this version of him is. And they couldn't figure out where Riddler was, who Riddler was, or anything. How did Riddler get busted? He basically gave himself up. It was exactly like in the movie Seven. How Kevin Spacey's character just walks in the police station like, oh, you've been looking for me. Here, since you can't find me, here I am. That's basically what happened. Riddler was sitting in a restaurant, a cafe, a diner, or something, and the police swarmed in. Okay, well, you didn't do anything. Riddler allowed you to get caught. So, world's greatest detective over here, you sucked. And the rest of the police, you sucked. You couldn't... So, like, I don't know, it was just kind of disappointing that that's how he got busted. He just casually gives himself up. And, also, even though Riddler was supposed to be Riddler, he kind of gave off a lot more of, like, Joker-y type vibes. Like, the way, especially after he got caught, and, Batman's, like, interrogating him. I guess you could say interrogating. I don't know. Riddler's kind of just talking at him, and then after a while, Batman just gets mad for no reason and starts, like, yelling at him. But when that was happening, he was kind of more Joker-y than Riddler-y. Like, he's starts to laugh a little and stuff, and it was like, I think you're mixing your characters right now, bro. He even does, just like Joker did in Dark Knight. You know, he has the scene where he's interrogating the what's his name, Brian, the fake, the imposter Batman. What's your name? Brian something. And are you the real Batman? No. Then why do you dress up like him? To show him that we don't have to be afraid of scum like you. Oh, yes, you do. You really do, Brian. And then they'll look at me. You know, that video. Yeah, there's something similar to that Riddler does. And it's like, haven't I seen this before? But by a different bad guy? Huh. But, yeah. So. And, what was the other thing I was going to say about Riddler? He just casually gets busted in the coffee shop. Yeah, I don't know. Whatever. But, yeah. So it's just like, you're mixing characters, kind of. And, you know, the world's greatest detective couldn't catch you. You have to casually give yourself up. Like, I don't know. It was like, how good of a world's greatest detective are you? Oh, and that's the other thing, too. Some of these riddles that Riddler was leaving for Batman to pick up, basically the answer was him. One of them was a flying rat. That was the clue. Flying rat. Right away I thought, that's Batman. Flying rat. Bat. But nope. What is it? He's trying to figure it out for real. Oh, a rat. And so they're trying to translate it into a different language, like Spanish, and they're coming up with, this. And then he's thinking, it's one of the guys in Falcone's mob. And then that was wrong, so then he's like, who is it then? And he's trying to figure out something else. And the whole time I'm thinking, am I the dumb one? Or is this riddle supposed to mean a bat? It's Batman that he's talking about. And then, like, finally, after, like, an hour of Batman being an idiot and not understanding, I think Gordon came up with it, like, bro, I think this is you. I think the flying rat is a bat. He's saying that you. And even then, Batman, like, didn't want to even accept it. Like, nah, it's not me. It's not me. It's definitely something else, blah, blah, blah. Like, they catch Penguin and they interrogate him. And they kept saying the Spanish version as La something. Or El something, whatever way it was. But then he's like, what are you guys talking about? It's La something or El something. It was the opposite of what they were saying. He's like, how do you guys not know? How are you that bad in Spanish that even I know this? And then they act like that's some kind of new revelation. Like, oh my God, we've been saying it wrong. And I'm thinking, how does the La or the El even make a difference? It doesn't. La and El both mean the. Okay, one's, feminine and one's masculine? It's not going to make a difference, though. La door, El door. Like, it's still a door. But yeah, like, all of a sudden that became like a new clue, and it was like, you guys are dumb. It's just a bat. And then eventually, you know what happens? Riddler has something happen that explodes at Bruce Wayne's home, and it injures Alfred. And it's like, yeah, duh. Because the whole time that you were looking around for the flying rat, it was you all along. And you could have prevented this, but you're stupid looking around for something else. Like, I just don't get it, because he figures out these other riddles right away, which actually I thought were pretty easy. I figured them out pretty quickly, too. One of them was, what happens when a liar... something along the lines of what happens when a liar is killed. I didn't get that one, but the answer is, spoilers, he lies still. Get it? And then the other one... The second riddle, I can't remember what it was offhand, but I got it right away. I came up with an answer, and that was what the answer was. That's what the movie said. And I was like, sweet, I figured that out. And then the bat one I figured out right away, too. And I was confused the whole movie as to why they couldn't figure it out. I mean, obviously the writers knew, but them on screen, Catwoman, Batman, and Gordon, it was like, why? How do you not understand what a flying rat is supposed to be? But yeah, so that was just kind of dumb and annoying. And again, one of the parts that just dragged it out, if he would have figured out right away, uh-oh, flying rat, that's me. Boom! 45 minutes of the movie would have been cut out. Now, let's see, let's go on to Catwoman. So Catwoman, again, she doesn't really have a defined backstory. You know, kind of like Batman is just doing this for absolutely no reason. Catwoman's mildly doing this for absolutely no reason as well. So Catwoman normally is like a jewel thief. Okay, people like to be thieves. They like to get things that they can't afford for free. But this one kind of has a purpose, at least. This version of Catwoman, we end up finding out is, again, spoiler alert, Falcone, I think it's Falcone, one of those mob guys, the top mob guys, Maroni, Falcone, one of them, is her dad. So she's trying to go after him. And, because I guess as a kid, he wasn't ever really there as a father, but she found out that he was her dad because her mom ended up revealing it. So now she wants to get vengeance on him or something for not really being an involved dad and what have you. And so it's like, okay, cool. But like at the same time, how does that lead you to be Catwoman? How does that lead you to don a special suit and go out at night? And I mean, she does do some petty thefts. Now, I think the thefts she does are related to the crime family, so that's how it makes sense. But in the grand scheme of things, it's like she already works at this club that Falcone owns and operates. So you're already 90% of the way there. What do you need a costume for and all this weird stuff and going out at night? In addition to that, you're already right there. Just do whatever you gotta do. I mean, at the very end, what ended up happening? She ended up getting a gun, and then she went to her job that she has full access to because she works there, and just goes up to some guards. Oh, hey, is Falcone in here? I want to talk to him for a minute. And then they're like, yeah, he's in there. Or well, they're not going to let her in at first, but then he's like, oh, it's okay, I got a minute. Come on, beautiful. Like, he's always hitting on her, even though it's his kid. It's kind of weird. And then she walks in. Now it's just them two alone, and she pulls the gun. Now, of course, she's supposed to have this huge vengeance against him and stuff. She's right there with the gun out. Boom. All you gotta do is pull the trigger. What's up? I brought this gun. Poof, done. Nope. Of course, she's got to dick around, do the usual thing in a movie where you give a monologue for 2 hours, which gives him a perfect opportunity to, like, tackle her, and then there goes the gun. And it's like, you're an idiot. But the point is you never had to be Catwoman in the first place. You could have always done that. Got a gun, just casually walked into his office, and boom, bam, done. So again, it's like, why were you Catwoman? Why is Bruce Wayne Batman? There's no... Yes, as a viewer, you should have an understanding because there's the whole lore of the comics, but in the context of that world, there's no reason for it. They just exist. At least Riddler has a purpose. Riddler's upset with these politicians and other people that lie to gain power and do nothing for the common person. So it kind of screwed him up. And then he became, he does what he does, becomes a serial killer, puts on the mask, puts on a show with his, I don't know, he's on some, let's call it Instagram or something, Twitter. He's got like 500 followers and he puts on videos on there. And at least it makes sense. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, so you have a backstory. Penguin, he's just a mob guy. Okay, cool, so that happened. When you were younger, you worked your way up. But Batman, why are you Batman? I don't know. Catwoman, why are you Catwoman? I don't know. And then, what else can we talk about? Oh yeah. Then when Riddler does get caught, actually, when Riddler gives himself, why does that keep coming out weird? When Riddler gives himself up, just casually lets the police come in and arrest him, he has one final thing. Spoiler alert. He basically blows up, not the whole city, but he's got like 7 bombs planted around. And then somehow they detonate. I don't know if they were on a timer or how he got them to go off, but they end up going off while he's in jail. And yeah, they blow up a lot of the city and stuff. And at the end of the day, though, again, unless I'm forgetting, I don't think there was a real purpose for that. It was like, okay, what was the point of this? You were individually killing, you were killing individual people before who gained power through lies and continue to lie even in their life. Like some of these people that have power lied to get the power, and then they're like cheating on their wives and stuff, which means they're lying in their personal life. So I was like, okay, you're kind of like Dexter in a way. Like, he's a serial killer, but he only kills those that deserve it. So you're a serial killer, but you're not just going after innocent people, you're targeting people that you feel deserve it. Well, when you plant all these bombs around the city, what's the point of that now? Your whole reason for why you are who you are and why you're doing what you're doing is just gone out the window now. Oh, I want to target liars, but I'm going to blow up half the city and in the process probably kill a lot of innocent people just because. That's my reason. Just because. I don't have a reason. Like, oh, okay. Cool. And then, no, I don't know if I have anything right now. I guess the only other thing I can say is at the very, very end, so this whole movie, Batman's all about vengeance. Vengeance for what? I don't know. I guess it's vengeance for his parents. Again, we're guessing. They don't actually ever tell you what his vengeance is all about and stuff. You're just, I'm vengeance. Okay, cool. And then for some reason people call him that too. Not to go on some tangent right now, but while I'm thinking about it, people call him Vengeance. Like, that's his nickname. And it's like, how is that even his nickname? He said it once to some random grunt thug. Like, what? After he got done beating the crap out of that guy, like, his buddies and him, like, went around, oh my god, I think this bad guy's name's actually Vengeance. I don't think... He called me Vengeance. When I said, who are you supposed to be? He beat the crap out of me and called me Vengeance. Like, I don't know how that nickname just popped up out of nowhere. But, anyhow, back to what I was saying. So, yeah, at the very end, it's almost like he kind of... I don't know. It could be a lead into the second movie, so maybe this is like the origin story, and that's why it sucked. At the same time, it is, he is only supposed to be Batman for 2 years now. He's a rookie. He's not very good at being Batman yet. He's only a detective still. He's not really crime fighting. And he's, I guess you could say, self-serving. Like, he's vengeance. So whatever he's frustrated about is what he's acting out for. He's not really doing the greater good like Batman usually does. Like, you know, beat up the criminals to help the innocent. Right now, he's just, oh, I'm gonna beat you up because I don't like how you look. But at the end, he slightly changes. I mean, it's kind of a wussy transition, but he does help others. He leads people out of one of the Riddler. I think it's one of the Riddler explosions with a flare. It's all dark and he's just in water leading them. Like, oh, okay, cool. I'm sure they could have figured that out on their own, but... And then at the very, very end, you know, he's all dirty and stuff, but he's helping, like, get people out of, like, some busted up area and get them, I don't know, onto a plane or something. What are they getting onto? I don't know. They're getting out of the area and he's there to help. And it's like, okay, that's cool, I guess. You know, you're not thinking of just yourself. But it's kind of, I guess you could say, too little, too late. And it's kind of, you know, it's at the very end. Last 10 minutes, you see a little bit. So that's why I'm saying maybe it's it's a lead into the next movie. Maybe he'll be more like what we're used to. Someone who's not just serving himself, but helping others as well. I don't know. But, yeah. And then the last thing I just want to quickly hate on is Gordon. So Gordon usually is always all about family and stuff. I said this in my first review. He's always all about family. He has his wife and kids. I mean, in Dark Knight, he had, the 2 kids? But he always has at least Barbara. And, you know, even in the Harley Quinn animated show, again, if you haven't seen that, you should see it. It's pretty good. It's kind of woke and, like, feminist and SJW and all that. I don't like that aspect of it. But it is still a halfway decent show. It's kind of funny. I just don't like the stupid underlying tones that they have to add to it unnecessarily. They even make, spoiler alert, Poison Ivy and Harley become lesbians. Like, that's never been a thing. But no, you gotta add it into your woke show. Stupid. But anyhow, as I was trying to say, crap, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, even in that show, Gordon is like divorced or something, but he's all tore up about it, and he's an alcoholic now and overweight, but he still has Barbara, and he like crashes at her place, and she gets home and says, "Dad, what are you doing here?" And then he's just goofy. "Oh, I didn't think you'd mind if I just showed up." And she's like, "I don't, but like I would at least like to know you're coming." And so yeah, there's always that. But this Gordon was like just a loner, apparently. I don't know. You never heard about his family, and he was always available. Whenever Batman needed him, there he was. He didn't have any family obligations or anything to worry about. Just boop, right, oh, I'm here, what's up? And it was like, that's not really Gordon. That's like a fake Gordon. You might have the same name as him, but you're not him. But then again, nobody in this movie was really who they were, because Bruce Wayne's supposed to be rich and a socialite, and they made him emo and apparently rich. I mean, there was no indication of that. He even drives himself around. At least in the other Batmans, he has Alfred drive him around, you know? He's got a chauffeur like a normal rich person. But anyways, yeah, so there's 40 minutes of the nonsense, which is why this movie gets a 77. Or C+, let's say C+, I forgot. By far, though, the worst part of it was how slow and drawn out and long it was, though. That just made it incredibly boring. Way too long. They could have easily cut an hour out of this movie, and it probably still would have felt too long. Because it was just so slow. And trust me, my opinion is not in the minority, because there were people in the theater that I was in that left. I know they left because they were in the same row as me. They snuck by me, and they never came back. And it was the pair. There was a couple of couples. A couple of couples. Snuck out and never came back. Because it was too slow and boring. I can't blame them. Like I said, huge Batman fan here. Huge Batman and huge Star Wars fan. And even I was bored and wanted to go. So that's saying something. I mean, I watch the animated ones that come out all the time and enjoy most of them. So if a live action one can't do it, there's a problem. But anyhow, enough of the negative. To get onto the positive side of things, I did like the music. I do feel like the music was extremely derivative. So the main song is Something in the Way. That Nirvana song. Something in the way. But which was cool. There was a segment where they actually play that whole entire song. Normally songs only get like a snippet. They had the whole entire song. But again, to put it into context, that song is like 4.5 minutes long total. So that's 4.5 minutes of really nothing going on if you can play a whole song over just some visuals happening. Again, going back to the drawn out. But still, it's a cool song, so it was a nice portion to listen to. It was almost like a music video, I guess you could say. But anyway, a lot of the music sounds a lot of like the guitar riff in that song. It's like they just sampled that and then kind of just modded it a little. Like every time Batman showed up in an area and it was like, that was like his theme. You know what I mean? Like how Joker has his themes in The Dark Knight. Every time Batman kind of showed up, whether it was on his own or he was hanging out with the police, that song would show up. And I liked the song. It sounded cool. It worked well. Like, ooh, kind of dark and brooding, and Batman shows up and ooh. But I was listening to it and I'm like, this sounds just like Something in the Way. Because Something in the Way is guitar riff. It's just modified a little bit. Like they took it and maybe like reversed it or something. So instead of it goes But yeah, so I didn't like that. But you know, most of the score was decent. So, I don't know yet if Hans Zimmer's still the winner. Again, I've listened to that soundtrack a ton of times, and I've watched the movies, the Chris Nolan movies a ton of times. So I may be a bit biased, but overall, I was satisfied with the score the first time around. Another thing is the city. Like I said in my first review, the city was pretty realistic. I live in Connecticut, but I have been to New York City several times, and sometimes when you'd see shots of the city, it looked very much like it was just New York City. Like, I don't know where the movie was filmed, but if I had to guess, I would say New York City. It was very New York-ish. So that gives it a super realistic feeling. Now, something that could work and would be cool, especially for Batman, is it was very dark. The movie was very dark for the most part. Sometimes it was almost black and white without even trying to be black and white. Like, that's just how dark it was. Which is, like I said, fine for a Batman movie. That's kind of the whole point. But it kind of didn't work in this one because, again, he wasn't a traditional Batman. He's a detective. So it's like, does a detective really get super dark and brooding? I don't know. Like, our normal version gets it, because now he's just a guy doing his crime fighting, and you need the dark and brooding to be scary to your enemies. Instill that fear. But this one, when you're just a cop, like, what do you need to be dark and brooding for? You're just going to work. Hey, what happened here? I'll figure it out. Let's see. Blood splatter. Like, but still, the atmosphere, I guess you could say, was kind of cool. The landscape was realistic. Another thing is, how do I put this? I liked the concept of his Batmobile. So at the end of the day, my favorite Batmobile is still the Tumbler, the one from the Chris Nolan trilogy, just because it's super cool and beefy. I mean, there's a lot to it, what it can do. It gets the auto drive and the intimidate and all this nonsense, and then like it's basically a miniature tank. And then when it's dead, you get the bat cycle out of it, so it's still got life going on. But the Batmobile in this movie, Batmobile if you want to call it that, was pretty cool. It was basically a muscle car that was repurposed, that had a sexy engine put into it, that has, like, I don't know, fire capabilities for, like, jet propulsion. And, yeah, it was a very realistic car. And, yeah, it was made to be tanky, but, like, it's just a very realistic car. Anybody with money could go to some place, buy a classic muscle car, and then just bring it somewhere and customize the heck out of it. You know, put all this armor on it, make it heavy, get beefy tires on it, and then go to, I don't know, some kind of shop and have people that know what they're doing customize the crap out of the engine and just make this super powerful over-the-top engine, and then boom, you got this sexy car. So that was kind of cool. It was very realistic, sort of. I mean, you're not really going to see one of those cars, but you know what I mean? The capabilities, like, I feel like that car is way more realistic than a Tumbler. Then again, though, Tumbler could be realistic too, because it could be a military vehicle. I mean, that was the whole point in the movie. They said it was supposed to be for what? Creating bridges where you'd need them. You'd have some tumblers go and jump and then have, like, the bridge tied onto the vehicle, so then when they land on the other side, there's a bridge. But I don't know. I feel like you probably have a better shot of seeing one of these Batmobiles going down the road than you would a Tumbler, even in a military sense. So that was cool. I do like some of this Batman's new gadgets he had. Again, spoiler alert, there's going to be massive ones here when I talk about his gadgets. So one is, you know, his armor plating. Like, his suit is still, like, the same size as always, nice and tightly fitting and stuff. But he's got some sick bulletproof armor on him. Like, he was getting shot from short distance and walking it off just fine. Like I said, the only blast that really hurt him was at the end. He got, like, short-range shotgun blast or something like that. But otherwise, regular guns was just like, bing, 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 bing. That doesn't hurt. He didn't say that. But that was cool. He had this other tech where it was like a contact lens. He'd put it on his eye. So you know how in Dark Knight, he'd have those shade things that could come out of his cowl and make his eyes, like when he had the sonar and stuff. But this one was just a contact lens, and like it was, I don't know, it could get any data that you need. You could look at a person and get information on them. Yeah, very like stealthy CIA type tech. It was kind of cool. It also worked. So there's a part where he has Catwoman go as Selena Kyle. She's not Catwoman, but she goes into that place that she works. Basically, he's using her as undercover ops because it's easier for her to get in than it is for him, even as Bruce Wayne. And she's got one of those on, and like, you know, he can see what she's seeing, and like they're, you know, got an earpiece in so they can talk. So it was kind of cool. And then the other thing that was kind of cool is he had, so you know, Batman usually has this cape that can, like, I don't know, like in Batman Begins, you know, he's experimenting with it being able to like take a shape and stuff and be like a glider or what have you. But this one was way realer. He has like a built-in, what do they call it, squirrel suit. So he's trying to escape the police at one point, and he's on this rooftop, and he needs to get away, so he just activates this thing, it all comes out, and then he just jumps and glides down. But it's realistic. Even how he landed, it was crappy, which was kind of funny. Like, he deploys a parachute, but he did it way too late. The parachute ends up getting caught on a bridge, and it rips off, and then he just goes flying, smashes into a car, bounces off it, smashes into another car, and then he just rolls on the ground. But it was realistic. It wasn't some weird nonsense with the cape. It's a real thing. That's a real product. People do the gliding stuff. So, like, that was kind of cool. What else was cool? Like I said, Riddler was kind of cool. Penguin was kind of cool. Not so much like I really cared about Penguin, but at least he was... Normally, Penguin is somebody who's, I don't know, got like a deformity or whatever. You know, he's not a perfect human. like the one in the Michael Keaton movie. You know, he has this weird hand. And he lives in the sewers and eats raw fish and stuff, and he's like a weird, goofy guy. This one, he's a normal guy. He's a mob guy. And, like, that's just his nickname. Like, they do. Like, you know, Smelly Pete and Johnny Two Times and all this. Like, he was just Penguin. So it was like, okay, it's kind of a more realistic approach to this guy instead of, like, some weird nonsense. Yeah, he was a normal height guy. It's not like he was, you know, 3 feet tall or something. He's a normal height guy, just in the mob. Ranked 2nd or 3rd. So, that was cool. Also, what was sort of cool, it doesn't really matter, but, was how it was, who was it, Colin Firth? Whoever the guy is that plays Bullseye in the Daredevil movie with Ben Affleck. You can't even tell it's him. I mean, I was studying him the whole time, trying to see it, and like just the makeup and prosthetics and all that, it was like, yeah, he's buried in there. It's kind of like when Johnny Knoxville becomes Irving Sisman. You can't tell it's him. Especially not now. In the beginning you could tell when they first did Irving, but now you can't. But yeah, so that was cool. What else was cool about the movie? That might be it, actually. Spy only gets a 77. But then again, when you relate it, I only have 10 minutes of good stuff, 40 minutes of bad stuff. That's more like a 25 rating. Eesh. Is the movie only on 25? I don't know. I guess when it worked, it was cool. You know, some of the fight scenes with Batman were cool. Although they're not often, because he's too busy being a detective. But some of those were cool. The quick dynamic with him and Catwoman was kind of weird. Like, then she's, like, making out with him out of nowhere. And it was like, you guys have literally known each other for 2 nights now. What are you doing already making out with him? Like, calm down. Jeez. Like, that was very weird. Like, there was no reason for it either. Like, they barely worked with each other. It's like night 2, and she's like, come here. Like, I'm good. What the heck? You like this with every guy you meet? What kind of STDs are you giving me right now? But, yeah, I think that's it. I mean, I just wanted to come in here and just be able to talk about the movie, give a more proper review. My first review was very short and crappy. In all fairness, my mask was a bit too tight. It was jamming into my throat, so it was causing me to, like, kind of choke. Plus, to black out my eyes, I had glasses on, which the mask, since it was so tight, those glasses were jamming into my nose right here. It still hurts from yesterday when I had that on. But also, it was kind of like pinching my nose, so I couldn't breathe good out of my nose. My throat was getting jammed, so I couldn't breathe good out of my mouth. So I was like half suffocating, and all I'm thinking the whole time is, oh my god, my face hurts, I can't breathe, I gotta take this mask off. So I couldn't even really think when I was trying to make the video. So I didn't say all the stuff I wanted to say. I didn't say it the right way I wanted to say it either. And yeah, obviously there was way more I said in this one, as it's literally 5 times as long as that original one. But I'm not going to delete the original one, because the original one did have a purpose. I dressed up like a doofus, and the whole point of it was to be shorter. I didn't want to do something long. I did want it to be short and relatively spoiler-free. This one is spoiler-ridden to the extreme. I'm telling you a lot of stuff, and I'm just chatting away, just saying what I think. But yeah, that's it. So, The Batman. Hey, I mean, check it out. It's not as good as I would like. I've heard people saying it's better than Dark Knight, best Batman movie. No, absolutely not. It isn't. It's not even better than Batman Begins, okay? And I'd say that's probably the worst. I don't think it is the worst out of the Nolan trilogy. I think Rises might be. But still, regardless, it's better. It's not better than any of the Nolan ones. They're still better. However, this one takes the path of detective, like I said in the original review. So considering that, it's the only one in its class right now. So yeah, it's the best in its class. It's competing against nobody. Like, I mean, if there was an underwater fishing tournament and I was in it, I'd probably be in there by myself. So of course I'd be the best underwater fisher because, you know, nobody's fishing against me. Same thing. You know, you got tons of movies between animated and live action on this side when he's a crime fighter helping the city out, you know, get rid of criminals and helping the common folk, or this side where he's a detective. Hey, I'm by myself. Of course it's gonna seem good. But yeah, it's not that good. I'm not saying it's terrible either, but it's not that good. It's definitely a C+. It might just be a straight C, even now that I'm thinking about it. Now that I made this video and was complaining for 40 minutes, it might just be a straight C. Maybe it's a 75. We'll go with a 75. Yeah, I feel better about that. I still don't think it's a 60. You know, 3 out of 5 stars, that's not right. But a 75, that's fair. What is that out of 5 stars? That's a 3.75? 3.75 out of 5 stars. Right? Because out of 10 stars, that'd be 7.5 stars. So half of that, 3.25. No, yeah, 3.75. I don't know. You know what I mean. But, yeah, that's it. So, it's a movie. It features Batman. And, yeah, it's very long. So, be prepared to take some no-dos. Or just embrace it and take a nap while you're there. I don't know. Anyhow, that's all I got.